So I think this gets the Mickey Mouse of the Year award. Family member purchased a new house, or well, new to them house, and uh, they wanted to replace the lighting fixture over their island, which was a kind of a big, heavy metal fixture like this right here that I just pulled down, and they want to put three pendant lights in here, and so I'm going to add some boxes along here. I expected to find a box under here. Instead, I found a can light with a wall socket adapter in it. So yeah, I think this is Mickey Mouse of the week, maybe of the month, possibly the year. So let's see how we're going to figure out how to fix this. All right, so continuing on with this, I got the old can out. It's a little bit challenging because it's installed before the drywall goes in. So I get the you don't want to rip the drywall out. So I was able to kind of finagle it out of there. I'm going to leave the old frame up there, but I got everything else out. So this is what it's going to kind of look like. I'm going to put 3 boxes in, and I'll plug the hole that was in, because this hole is not centered over this island right here. So we're going to get it centered. And I had to go pick up some different boxes because, as it turns out, 2 of them are going to land where the studs go. So these little 1/2-inch boxes are perfect for that. I'll use the Dremel to cut out the holes to the right depth. So these will just screw right into the studs. One of them is going to be where there isn't a stud, because that's just how it works out. And so I'll use one of these, and I'll use 2 of these guys. The 3 are 6. I think these are 3.5. This is 6 or 4. Sorry, 4. This is 4, and these are 3.5, I believe. 3.25 maybe, I forget. But these will work for pendant lights if you're putting pendant lights in. But this is really the size that it should be. But because the way those lights are designed, and I'll show it once I get them installed, the bracket will be larger than the box, but that's okay. So this is what we'll be using to install this. Continuing on with this, so I got the holes cut with my Dremel. You can see that one there is in between 2 studs, so I used an old work box. This one is just on the very edge of a stud. I'll be able to use one of the old work boxes in this place right here. I'm just going to have to notch just a little bit out of the stud. And then this one is directly over a stud, so I used one of these pan boxes or close mount 1/2-inch boxes, and just stuck a couple of gold screws into it, and that should pretty much set this up to hang the 3 pendants. So I've just got to get the other box here in the middle, which is probably going to be the most challenging. I also, obviously, if there's studs in between, I had to drill a little 1/2-inch hole on either side through the stud. This particular house has, it doesn't have typical 2x8s or 2x6s. It's got what look to be 8-inch studs that are that APA board. That's that engineered board with the wood strips on the top and the bottom. I don't know exactly what the technical term for those are, but that's what these are. So relatively easy to just drill a little hole in there. It doesn't affect it in any way. We'll continue on and install the last box. All right, so all 3 boxes are in now. The wires are pulled through the boxes. You'll notice this box is turned. That's on purpose because the clamp that's in there, I have it oriented so it doesn't interfere with the stud that's right next to it there. So that's why it's turned a little bit. You'll never know it though, because these, anybody that's ever worked with these ceiling boxes before, it really doesn't matter how they're rotated. The orientation isn't important. So it's ready to be wired up here now. So the next step will be hanging the pendants, wiring it up, and then I'll patch up this hole, and I'll show you how I do that. So this is how I tend to handle this kind of mess. So, everything's kind of coming back to one box. There's probably a lot of different opinions on how to do this, but this is my method. So you've got this big rat's nest where everything's kind of tying together. I've got one of the feeds coming in, one of them going out to another light already, a can light, and then I've added 2 more, and they're all coming into this center box. And just because of the way that everything was routed, they all kind of had to come here. I couldn't daisy chain it another way, so it's kind of like a star instead of a ring. uh, this isn't really about wiring, but always hook your neutral up first, just in case your ground isn't bonded for some reason. That doesn't really happen in some construction that's already existing, but I had a old time electrician years ago teach me to always hook up the neutral first, not the ground. But I think unbonded ground is kind of rare. Anyways, so because I have this rat's nest and I've got to have another light connected here, rather than trying to wire the light into 4 or 5 leads here, I'm gonna actually set it up where I bring some extra leads down for just the light. So I'll pack all this up in here so it's a lot easier to manage once the light's here. Then I've got 3 separate leads that'll just have some smaller wire nuts on them that is attached to this whole rat's nest, rather than trying to attach the rat's nest to the bottom of the fixture, because the wiring on the fixture is usually kind of tight. You're trying to hold the fixture and mess with that. It's just easier to bring some little leads down. So that's how I do this. So that's just a little blurb on kind of managing this mess of wires. So this is just what I'm talking about here. So I lift these leads just for my light. Now I'm going to tuck these all up nice in the box while not trying to fight getting the light hooked up here. So we'll just have 3 smaller yellow wire nuts. Use these red ones. Generally the red ones are larger. They'll easily handle 4 or 5 14 gauge wires. So get that all tucked up in there, and we'll get the light hooked up. So there's probably a million videos on how to do this, but I'll show it here since I have to do it anyways. But the way that you patch a hole like this, you cut a piece of drywall this size. I just used my Dremel that, if I didn't talk about it before, has that jig where you can set the bit to a certain radius, and it makes it very easy to cut round holes. So I'm going to take, I just used some shim stock that I have laying around. You can get this at Home Depot. They work real well for this. I just put this in here, any kind of piece of wood will work. And what you do is you screw it in here, here, and here with a couple pieces. Then it just gives you some backer to be able to put the piece in here and then screw it in here, and then you putty it and everything. I'm not going to show that part, but you'd fill this all in and retexture it, and you'd never know that it was here. All installed now. I did not do the cosmetics before I get a whole bunch of comments saying you didn't finish it before putting the lights up. The homeowner is going to be doing that, but they want to get the lights up in the meantime. So they'll take care of the patching and the texture, the knockdown texture. Not too difficult though, but we're all patched up now and installed, and these lights are functional. So we have now 3 pendant lights centered over this island cabinet now, rather than one hidden can light with a Mickey Mouse fixture screwed into it. So it's all up to code, and it looks pretty good now.